You are now tuned in to Owen's Exhibit. Welcome back, listeners. This is your host, Owen Patterson, and we're here today to discuss all things related to entrepreneurship and fashion. Today, I have the opportunity to speak with a friend of mine and a guest on this podcast about his business, Guapo. The founder is David Diaz. He has recently started this business. And first off, I want to talk about how I actually met David. I believe we met during my freshman year of high school, and it was because both of us had an interest in basketball. So we were just always at the hoop courts during lunch, and that allowed us to kind of find similar interests and talk to each other. And throughout high school, we'd go to the gym after school sometimes, hang out on the weekends, and he actually lived pretty close to me. So it was a kind of a coincidence and also like a blessing that we were able to hang out a lot and grow our relationship. So David, I'll allow you to introduce yourself and kind of talk about some things you've been up to recently.
So like you said, my name is David Diaz, and recently I started Guapo, my long life dream and my goal and my ambitions towards becoming a fashion icon and just becoming a big brand. So yeah, I dropped March 18th, and it's been 2 weeks and it's been nothing but blessings. And yeah, man, that's what I've been up to.
That's exciting. So to start off this podcast, I like to ask all of our guests a few icebreaker questions, just allowing the audience to understand what your personality is and also some of your interests.
Yeah.
So I try to think of some questions that related to both like your lifestyle, maybe some food choices. So the first question is, what's your favorite cereal?
Ooh, see, that's fire. Okay. My favorite cereal, it would have to be Reese's Puffs. I love Reese's Puffs. I love them. And then if you have to go like a second choice, I'm also going to choose Fruity Pebbles. You can't go wrong with Fruity Pebbles.
I can agree with that. I'd probably have to put Fruity Pebbles first choice, but I don't eat them a lot. They're pretty good.
They're pretty good.
What's your favorite type of accessory to wear?
Does it have to be one or can it be multiple?
Let's stick with one.
Ooh, this is hard. I'd have to choose between rings and chains, but I would have to say chains.
Chains. What's your favorite movie genre?
Thrillers. I love thrillers. I like movies that keep me interactive. I like movies that I don't know what's happening, or I'm like, there's always a twist at the end. I love thrillers.
That's pretty cool. I want to ask this question to figure out how you handle stress. So what's some of the ways you kind of figure out how to deal with the stress you're dealing with in your everyday life?
See, that's a great question. So especially when you're an entrepreneur or even making a business, stress is something that just happens and it comes every day, all the time. So you always have to keep yourself level-headed. You just have to understand that there's never going to be too low of a low, and there's always going to be those highs that are too high. You always got to stay right in the middle and understand that at the end of the day, if it's a bad day, the next day it could be a good day. So just always keeping that positive mindset and just understanding that you have to trust the process.
Okay. So some of the ways you deal with it are by looking towards the future and kind of understanding that what you're going through right now is short-lived, just kind of reflecting on things, but being able to put your perspective in the future.
Exactly. And understanding that at the end of the day, failing or even doing something wrong or even having something happen that's like an incident or something like that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. It just means that you're just learning, and from that learning process, you just get better.
That's smart. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Designer, man. I've been wanting to be a designer since seventh grade, eighth grade. I think that was when it first started. The idea, the first like real idea of having Guapo started in eighth grade. So it's been a long time. It's been a long time of having this idea and wanting to strive towards becoming a designer. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. And this next question is really important because it kind of shapes your character. So how many siblings did you grow up with?
So I grew up with 3 siblings. I grew up with 2 older brothers and 1 sister. I'm the youngest of the family. I'm the baby of the family, as they like to say. Yeah.
That's sweet.
You want to know how it shaped me in a general sense?
Yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
So like, I'd have to say that having older brothers definitely put me onto clothing at an earlier age, because my older brothers are way older than me. They're 12, 10 years older than me. So me being in elementary school, they're pretty much almost graduating high school. So like in middle school, I saw Jordans. I saw all these stuff that like I was being, brought into, and I appreciated it and I liked it a lot. Just like for example, like I remember briefly, the first time I even recognized Jordans or remember anything to do with Jordans was me and my brothers. We were doing a video outside. We were like, he was like putting the hose on us while we were doing push-ups, and he was recording us. And I remember my brother was wearing Jordan 7s. I think they were the infrareds, and I didn't even think nothing of it. I thought they were just regular shoes. I'm just like, I'm a kid. I didn't really care much about fashion at that time. So then my brother was recording it. He posted on his Instagram, and every comment on the Instagram was, not the Jays. Why are you doing that with the Jays? And all this stuff about like, how are you doing that? Like, why are you ruining the Jays? So it just showed me that the culture really appreciated that shoe, and there was a type of hype around that shoe. So it just brought me into that world. And ever since then, man, I fell in love with Jordans. I fell in love with urban streetwear, and it's just been my passion.
That's pretty cool. Now we get to discuss the real reason you're on this podcast, to talk about your recent kind of venture starting this business and the brand Guapo. So the first question I want to talk about is, can you talk about your upbringing? I know that's played a role in kind of your influences and kind of giving you this unique perspective.
So I moved around a lot as a kid. So I was born in New York, in Queens, in Flushing, Queens. And from there, at the age of 3, 4, we moved to Deltona in Florida, Orlando. And from there, like just being around 2 big cities already, you get a lot of culture. You feel like you're seeing a lot. You're seeing a lot of different perspectives of just life and how people live in just in a general sense. So after Orlando, we moved to LA, and that's where I really grew. I would like to say I was raised in LA because I spent the most time in LA. I spent 6+ years in LA. So just being in LA, I think that did a big toll on everything that I'm about, just because LA is a mecca of what? Fashion. LA is a mecca of, it's just Hollywood. It's everything's in LA. So you definitely get influenced just by living in LA. Like, for example, like from going to Florida, you don't really care about clothing. I was young, so in general sense, but I'm talking about even my older siblings. You don't really care about clothing that much when you live in Florida. Like you do, but it's not so much of a necessity. You're like, you don't get fed into it. When you move to LA, you feel out of place if you're the one that's not wearing the nicest clothes, or you're not wearing this type of brand or that brand. So you get like pushed into this world of fashion, into this world of materialistic things and just streetwear in general. So I would say that living in LA definitely gave me this like want and desire to become better in fashion and have the nicest clothes and just really take a deep dive into fashion in general. So, and then I moved to obviously to Medford, and that's where I grew, like basically graduated high school, and that's where I think I learned a lot in how to mature in Medford. That's what I would have to say. I think Medford definitely made me mature a lot and see exactly what I wanted to be in life.
That's pretty cool. And I know in one of the conversations that we had, you talked about how your family's from the Dominican Republic. Even your brothers grew up there. Was that right?
No. So my brothers, they were born in Spain. So my parents traveled a lot. I was almost born in Italy. So I was conceived in Italy, but all my siblings were born in Spain. But my parents, yes, so my parents were born in the Dominican Republic. And I think that has a big part to do with my culture and the way I am. Definitely being Dominican is a big part of my life.
What do you think about the Dominican culture? Is there something that you really try to incorporate in your everyday life?
We're the best people, man. We have a lot of energy. We're energetic. We're very charismatic. We're people that are just full of energy, full of fun and laughter. We're loud. We're just, if you see a Dominican, you know they're a Dominican. That's just the truth.
That's pretty cool. So you know how to kind of talk with those same people and can relate to their culture?
100%. Que lo que, ya tú sabes.
Awesome. Did anyone influence you to become an entrepreneur?
I would have to say my parents. So entrepreneurship runs in my family from generations, just for generations and generations. It just runs in my family. It's something that we believe in. We don't like, we try our best to become entrepreneurs. Like obviously not everyone in my family is an entrepreneur, but we try our best and we have that business mentality to, start something ourselves and to grow something ourselves.
Is there any person in particular who you saw that started a business and you knew that you wanted to take that same route?
I wouldn't say there's someone in my family that's done that, but I would say that I've gotten a lot of influence from other people, big creators. Virgil, for example, Ian Connor, for example, ASAP Bari, for example. People like that have definitely had a big impact on my life and just the way I perceive brands and how you can grow as a brand. I believe that at the end of the day, if you have the passion and you really dive and put all your effort into it, you'll succeed. Because at the end of the day, anything you put your mind into, it can grow. It can definitely grow. So it's all about having the trust in the process and putting in the work.
Yeah. Earlier, you talked about how your brothers kind of got you into fashion because you recognized that they were wearing these brands that a lot of people appreciated. Can you remember any other things that really got you interested in fashion, or
Oh
what
yeah.
really sparked
So
that first
brands,
interest in fashion?
early brands like Stussy, definitely Stussy was a big one early on because I saw Stussy a lot early on. Brands like, who, there's so many, bro, but it's hard to think of all of them on the top of my head. But just brands, mostly what's it called? Skateboarding brands. Skateboarding brands had a big role to do with my life early, especially in LA. Especially in LA, it's a massive impact that skaters have in just the culture in LA.
That's cool. And now do you want to talk about the significance behind the name Guapo?
Yeah. So the significance, there's 10 crosses. They stand for 10 different things. I'm gonna read them right now. 1 second. So the 10 crosses, it stands for love, it stands for a war of mind, it stands for chasing your dream, overcoming adversity, disrupting the norm, self-growth, fighting mental health, no fear of the unknown, blind to color, and Guapo is family. So if you're part of Guapo, you feel like you're part of a community, you're part of a movement, you're part of something. When you wear my clothing, you should feel like you're part of something.
Yeah, what made you decide on those specific phrases, those 10 crosses? Were they things that you experienced in your life and
100%. There's
that you
things I
could see
experienced in my
changing?
life, and I something that I grew and have grown out to, something I've grown out of. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that I stand by those things, and there's stuff that means a lot to me. So, and I know there's a lot of people that fight mental health. There's a lot of people that are scared of the unknown. There's a lot of people that understand that there's a lot of war in mind. Like, you don't know what you want to do. You don't know if you should really do it. You're scared to even do it. So it's a lot of battles of demons that we have in ourselves. So in a general sense, when you wear Guapo, I don't want you to wear Guapo thinking that it's just a regular brand and that it has no meaning. No, it has a meaning behind it, and it means becoming the best you can be at your craft, becoming the best you can be at just being you.
Yeah, I think when a lot of people start brands, or even when entrepreneurs give advice, they tell you to write a few mission statements or kind of like try to figure out what value or what your mission is in your
Yeah,
brand. And I think you figured that out. You've kind of laid it out and given an outline for what you think is really important in life and what you want to
100%.
prioritize.
100%.
That's pretty cool. Is there a motto or a slogan for your brand?
Love is war. Love is war is the slogan of my brand. So love isn't easy. It's something you have to fight for every day. And it's something that humans, we love it, but it doesn't come easy. It doesn't come easy.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that. What do you think what's the pushback? Like, why do you think love is so hard to get for you in particular? Or why have you
I would say
taken this on as a concept?
because I think at the end of the day, we have to realize that as a humanity, love is something that is so, we all think we have, and we all think we really know the meaning, but at the end of the day, there's so much more depth into it with so many things. It could tie into racism, it could tie into wars, it could tie into stuff that just, as a humanity, are issues, are demons that we have as a humanity. We don't realize that at the end of the day, we're all human. At the end of the day, we are all just people. We all bleed the same color. We all bleed red. So love is war just shows that through our human race, we should show more love. But at the end of the day, there's always a battle from the other side. There's always this issue, or why we can't do this, or why we can't connect in this way, or why we can't respect this person, or why we can't have peace in this place. So love is really interesting in the sense of how humanity accepts it and uses it. Because at the end of the day, I don't think we really use it. I think we just say we use it, and oh, I love you, but at the end of the day, do we really love that person, or do we really love that race, or do we really love what we do in a certain country when it comes to war or anything like that, famine or anything like that, any issues or that happen in the world, that world crisis in general.
Yeah, I think you've kind of brought up this disconnect that we have in our world. You're talking about love, like love connects people. It binds people that may not be, related by family, but you can love somebody. So you kind of like recognize that there's this disconnect in the world. And I think if you can figure out how to kind of make people more alike, or like be able to show people that we're all not that like much different from each other. I think that's a great concept to
Exactly. And that's my
build on.
concept. Just showing that we're not different. We're all the same. We all bleed red.
That's pretty cool.
Should be more
Where do you
love
get
in this
your,
world.
yeah, what were you gonna say?
That there should just be more love in this world.
That's great.
Yeah.
Where do you get your inspiration or influence from?
Like I said earlier, I have to say Virgil, ASAP Bari, Ian Connor, ASAP Rocky. There's a lot of people that put onto my influence early on. Just even going through that, you have to understand that having those influence, they teach you a lot. They teach you a lot in the sense of mistakes that they've made and just issues that they've had in the past, and how you can view their mistakes and not do them or make the same mistakes in general. So like with Ian Connor and his charges, or even ASAP Bari and his charges, those things have affected their brand. And just realizing that, you have to realize that if you're gonna create a brand, that's your name, and whatever you do outside of that will affect that brand. So you have to maintain yourself in a great posture and have morals, and just know that whatever you do can affect your company in the long run.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning that takes place when you're in entrepreneurship, and you can either use other people's lessons or other people's downfalls and use them and learn from them, or you can learn from your own downfalls. But I think it makes a whole lot more sense to look at somebody else's situation and learn from it, because there's you can avoid those same pitfalls. So it's definitely important, and I think it's very valuable that you looked at these people and you at one point you looked up to them, and then you recognize that they did these things that you wouldn't necessarily want to associate yourself with.
100%. And that just shows that they had not the world by their grasp, but their company was growing, their company was booming. But just that one thing can affect a massive amount of respect and a massive amount of love that the community has for you. So it's all about really knowing that you have to keep yourself in a straight posture and just do the right thing. Just do the right thing.
That's awesome. I have no doubt that you're gonna be able to avoid those pitfalls. So I think you're definitely, I definitely think you're on the right path. What were you gonna say?
I also wanted to say, for people that want to start a brand, if you want to start a brand, you definitely just should take a deep dive in just learning how brands started, where they came from in a general sense. Same with Supreme, because a lot of people don't even know that Supreme came out of an office in 1994, a little office space in New York. So you have to definitely take a deep dive and understand how these brands started, because then you'll see kind of a pattern or a little way that you can start your brand, or a little movement that you can kind of copy or use their kind of pattern to grow your brand. So I would say for people that want to make a brand, it's all about studying and really realizing how these brands started, how these brands created movement, how these brands created hype, and just learning that.
Yeah, that's some valuable insight. What type of products are you trying to create?
Oh man, we're trying to go everything. Zip up hoodies, ski masks, jeans eventually, sweats, shirts, everything, bro. Everything.
What's a particular product that you've had on your mind for a while that you said, or that you've like realized, oh, I don't see this that much in the industry and I want to create?
I want to mess a lot with corduroy. I think corduroy is extremely fire. I think corduroy is definitely a dope material to use, and I definitely want to use a lot of corduroy in my pieces eventually.
What type of products would you create with corduroy?
Oh, puffer jackets, denim jackets, just anything that's kind of like a pullover, like an add-on piece to finish an outfit. That's what I want to use with corduroy. Even hats as well. Anything, gloves, it could be anything.
Definitely. Who do you envision wearing your clothes?
So if you're wearing my clothes, you have to be someone that, like I said, you fit with the 10 crosses. You have to be someone that you fight mental health, or you're someone that you disrupt the norm. You're not someone that likes to stay with the normal brands. You like to go outside the box. I would say people that are like me, someone that you're really into fashion, you're really into finding the next upcoming brand, someone that you're like always searching for that new thing. That's someone I would say that you like would wear my stuff.
That's cool. So if you were to picture your ideal consumer, who would they be? Maybe what would they be doing throughout their day?
I feel like someone that would be my consumer, someone that really appreciates the culture. So if you're someone that enjoys hip hop music, you're someone that enjoys NBA, you're someone that enjoys gaming. If you're part of that culture in general, the culture, you're definitely be someone that will enjoy and love my clothing.
Yeah, someone that doesn't just look at the culture and see what value they can get from it. They more want to experience it all, and they're very curious about not
Exactly.
only why is this popular, but what are the other things behind it? Like, how has this propelled itself into mainstream? You're really talking about how did these things come to be, and you want people to value the culture, not just for what it represents at the face value.
No, 100%, 100%. Because a lot of people, they'll just look at it at the surface level. They don't take a deep dive in their culture. And that's why a lot of people hate the culture. It's just superficial. But if you really take a deep dive, it's a bunch of dope creators making a bunch of dope stuff and creating a movement behind it.
That's sweet. All right, now let's talk about this latest collection.
100%.
I mean, I can pull up a few of the product images. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Do you want to talk about what products were dropped during this release?
So we dropped 3 different colorways of t-shirts. We dropped, I think, 4 different colorways of hats. And the first colorway is we can mention is the one I'm wearing right now. It's called the Faith Tee. It's a brown, vintage brown. Honestly, that's the best seller right now. The Faith Tee is the one that's the best seller right now. Second, we have the Last King Tee. It's a color called Pink Dust, and that one's the second best seller right now. And then we have the Love Is War Tee, and that one is the third seller right now, and it's honestly one of my favorites as well, just because of the new olive color. It's very nice. And then we have trucker hats. The one I'm wearing right now it's a khaki with a brown. We have a nice black and red, a black and white, and we have a pink and white. So that's what the first season is. We dropped like I said, March 18th, and it's been nothing but blessings. We're almost sold out. It's been crazy, man. It's been crazy.
That's pretty cool. I mean, just looking at these product images, it looks like you took a lot of time and you were very intentional about what you were trying to picture and the kind of essence you were trying to create. So, I mean,
100%.
just talk about the process of getting these clothes manufactured to getting them pictured and put up on your website. Can you talk about that process?
It's a process that takes time. Like, you have to understand what concept you're trying to put behind that certain release. There's always a concept behind every certain release. And my concept was kind of gothic, old English, kind of making you think of not war, but kind of like this more like early 1900s type vibe.
Okay.
Late 1800s. So it makes you feel like you're wearing clothing that's a little bit gothic, but has a twist of urban streetwear with it. So
right. You were taking the symbols and the typography from that era, but then putting new kind of
my own twist to it.
Twist on it.
100%, 100%.
So talk about how once you got these manufacturers listed to manufacture your products, what was your next step?
Oh, after you get the product finished, you obviously have to take the product pictures. So you have to take pictures of the product. And in my opinion, that is the most important part. The most important part. The way you make your product look to the consumer is the most important part. Your product has to look desirable. It has to look like really like aesthetically pleasing. You want to be like, wow, I really want that. I need that. And that's something that I strive for. It's something that I really took the time to do, because at the end of the day, if your product doesn't look desirable, it doesn't have that aesthetically pleasing look, no one's going to want to buy it. You can't just put a picture of the design on Instagram and just think that people are going to want to buy it. You have to have models wear it. You have to have outdoor pictures, indoor pictures, studio pictures. You have to take the time to really push the product and make it look as nice and as desirable as possible.
Right. You're kind of talking about being professional and being able to create your own kind of look and type of atmosphere that you want to create.
100%.
So I think that's really cool.
And you hit it on the dot. It's all about being professional. Even if you have 10 followers to 100,000 followers, to 1 million followers, being professional should happen at the start and carry it on forever. Because if you don't be professional in the start, people are going to take it as a joke. And that's when it doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think that kind of ties back to, we didn't actually talk about this, but do you want to talk about why it took you so long to actually launch your brand?
So I took a long time just because I really wanted to do it right. So I took the time to really, really study my stuff, really understand what is popping in a certain moment. Like right now, brown is insanely popular right now. The color brown it's never been as popular as it's been since 2020 to right now. So just understanding certain trends, understanding certain stuff about just brands in general. and understanding that at the end of the day, if you want to do something, you have to do it right to have it succeed.
Yeah. So I know that in high school, you were already had this idea of starting your own brand. Is there a reason that you didn't just go for it on the spot once you first started about
Yeah,
it?
so I had the idea and I almost started a freshman year, but the reason I didn't do it was just because I felt like I didn't have the capital. I was too young. And being a freshman and starting a brand, all my peers were going to take it as a joke. They were going to take it, oh, he's just trying to make quick cash. He's just trying to print some t-shirts and just sell them. So and I really cared about this passion. I really cared about my dream. So I put it in the drafts and I waited for the right timing to really push it so people understand that this is my passion, this is my career, this is my life, this is what I want to do, and this isn't a joke. So I didn't do it in high school because I felt like people wouldn't take it as serious as they would take it now.
Yeah, I can respect that kind of idea. And I think it's really great that you didn't put it off forever. And eventually you came and realized that there's never going to be a right time. And you finally just went for it.
100%. And that's something that people have to realize too. There's never going to be a right time. Don't think that, oh, it's just going to happen. You have to realize you have to make it happen. So, and that's something that I came to realize myself through all the waiting. You have to make it happen. You have to realize that if you really want it, go after it and get it.
That's sweet. So how often do you plan on releasing collections, and will they revolve around a theme, or will they revolve around
They'll
that
definitely be
season?
revolved around a theme. I haven't 100% decided if I'm going to stick through with my full concept or change every season. I'm still deciding that, but I will be releasing seasons every 3 months to eventually every month, and so on and so forth.
So just on your own schedule, it's not going to
Yeah,
keep up with the current
schedule.
fashion calendar.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And do you think more collections will take a longer time? That's why you don't want to have to commit yourself to these deadlines?
No, I think that the first one definitely took a long time because I had to learn the process, but certain collections might take a little bit longer depending on the quality and depending on the pieces. But as of right now, I have a steady process, so it won't take that long.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that your brand kind of incorporates is the idea of quality. And I
100%.
think it kind of goes by the wayside, but what are you trying to very hone in on with the quality of your
Quality is the
products?
most important thing. Quality is the most important thing in a brand, even more important than the pictures. If your quality isn't there, then your brand is never going to succeed because people are not going to buy a $40, $30, $60 t-shirt and it breaks down or it cracks in a couple days or a couple washes. So or you can't print on Glydian, you can't print on Hanes and expect your brand to blow up unless the design is spectacular, which it has happened before. It has happened before, but your brand, the design must have to carry exponentially. So quality just is the most important thing because if you have quality, then people will come back and they'll purchase again due to the fact that your t-shirts are long lasting. They're nice on the touch, on the feeling of the body, and just in general, they have that nice feeling.
Yeah, I totally support you finding better quality. And I think your consumers will definitely value it too. We're kind of going towards this thing in the fashion industry where quality products and products that may cost more but use specialty fabrics or very well-made techniques is very valuable. So definitely keep going along with that.
Yeah.
What has been the hardest part of starting your brand?
Trademarking. You have to realize that you have to do everything legally. So when I first started, I tried to start it in 2020. Guapo was taken. The name Guapo was taken, and it wasn't taken. It was being processed to being taken. So I was like, damn it, I did. And the funny thing is, I still didn't put it off. Like I didn't say, okay, it's done. I still had hope, and I was like, you know what? Eventually, if that person doesn't do anything with it, it's gonna go back out to the public. So that's what I did, and that's what I waited. And in a year, it was back out in the public, and it was mine. So I finally had the rights to Guapo, and Guapo is trademarked by me.
The hardest part for you is trying to get the name trademarked, and you'd say other legal things?
Just in general, trademarking and LLC, creating an LLC and just stuff like that. It's just a little bit more technical. But another really hard thing is finding your supplier. That is the most hardest part. Finding your supplier. Like I have an extremely good supplier. Like my stuff is made in Portugal, like exported from Portugal. So in general, finding the supplier is probably the hardest part, especially finding a good supplier. Because you can find Glydian, you can find these cheap brands on Alibaba and all these places. But finding a really good supplier with really good quality, it's hard. It's hard.
That's sweet. So now that you found your supplier and you've got all your clothes, how have you been able to distribute your clothes, or what are some of the ways that you plan on distributing your
So
clothes?
I sell through online, and eventually I'll be in some stores, some consignment stores. But through right now, it's mostly through online.
That's sweet. And do you want to talk about your latest trip to Los Angeles and what you were working on there?
Yeah. So when I went to LA, I had a meet up with a famous celebrity. I met up with Chris King. He's a Trippie Red's part of 1400, signed to Trippie Red. And I linked up with him, and he was enjoying the clothing, and he said he's gonna wear it in music videos. He gave me a lot of support, a lot of love, and I appreciate him. Shout out to Chris King. It was a lot of love. And then the next, I went to Melrose as well, and I got a lot of love in Melrose. I feel like Melrose is exactly where I need to be as a designer. The amount of love I had in Melrose was amazing, man. It felt really good, and it gave me reassurance. I really believe in the theory of relativity. So a lot of things are showing me that this is what I have to do, and it's insane to see that, and it's really surreal.
That's sweet. And I know that in one of our conversations, you talked about wanting to do a pop-up shop. Is that still in the works?
Oh, 100%. So we will be doing pop-up shops in Melrose this summer. This summer, we will be doing pop-up shops in Melrose. We will be also doing pop-up shops in downtown Medford. I think it's in April. I forgot the date, but it's in April, late April, the middle of April. We're gonna be doing pop-up shops in downtown Medford as well.
That's pretty cool. What's next for the brand besides these pop-up shops and other things you have planned?
Just growth, man. It's all growth and trusting the process and realizing that we're not going to become $1 million company overnight. So it's just taking it day by day and just enjoying the process and realizing that this is my path.
Yeah. Do you want to kind of foreshadow anything that's to come in the future?
A lot of heat is going to come out the bag. So you guys should better just watch out and be ready for it.
That's pretty cool. I'd like to end off my podcast by talking about manifestation and allowing our guests to bring up an idea that maybe they want to put into the universe and kind of manifest. Do you have an idea? It can either be business related or personal. And what is that idea?
Does it have to be an idea, or can it be a goal?
It can be a goal.
Okay, so I think as a goal right now, a steady, reasonable goal is to grow my Instagram to at least 5,000 to 10,000 followers. And from that, grow in sales and just keep growing in the sense of celebrities wearing my clothing and just exposure in a general sense.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely come in contact with the right people. And you've already talked about how so many people are showing love and appreciation towards you. And I think that's just kind of foreshadowing what's to come in the future.
100%.
I mean, do you have any other closing remarks for people that want to start a brand, or maybe people that are in the same position as you?
Don't ever let nobody ever tell you what you can do, ever. Because at the end of the day, I had so many people in my ear telling me I couldn't do this, or it wasn't going to work out. People from high school, my own family. And it's funny to see how the tables turn. So at the end of the day, if you really believe you got it, and do it. Because at the end of the day, the only person that's going to make it happen is you.
Yeah, I'm glad you've been optimistic to these people that are saying these things to you. And I'm glad you've been able to make it this far and launch the first collection, because from my perspective, I didn't know if this was something you were serious about. And you even talked about how in high school, it wasn't something that other people would take seriously. And I was definitely one of those people. But now that I've seen you do this and just showing your passion and your work ethic towards it, I'm very kind of looking towards what's to come in the future.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, David.
Hey,
Where can people check out the brand, maybe shop the brand?
You can follow the brand on Guapo Brand on Instagram. Guapobrand.com is the website. And we're live, baby. We're live.
That's sweet. Thanks so much, David. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure you're going to go follow the podcast on Instagram at owens.exhibit so you don't miss out on updates and future episodes. All right. This is Owen signing off.
Ya lo que, ya tú sabes.